But here's a few things I say. Of course, this is America. You get to do the business the way you want to. That's the freedom we get. But also, don't get tunnel vision, right? I want you to understand whoever you partner with, whichever patient financing, they are an extension to your brand.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Dental Office Managers Community Podcast, where we talk about the issues that matter most and help us to become better leaders in our dental practice. I'm your host, Kyle Summerford. Let's dive right in. Hey guys, it's Kyle Summerford here, and we are back with another podcast episode for the Dental Office Managers community. And today I have a good friend here, Sameer from CareCredit. Sameer, thanks for coming on here and
thank you.
Taking a little time out of your busy schedule.
Always time for office managers.
Cool. Yeah. Sameer, I wanted to bring you on to the show because, I have been a longtime user of CareCredit. And, my experience has always exceeded my expectations, right?
Thank you.
With financing, I've always felt that, you don't know what kind of approval you're going to get.
Yep.
You're really having a conversation with the patient, and sometimes you have some patients that'll actually tell you their credit's amazing.
Yeah.
And then you go through the whole process of case presentation, and then you find out that they're not approved.
Yeah.
But I've had a lot of success with CareCredit, and so what I wanted to really bring you on here to share with our audience is what is it that kind of differentiates CareCredit.
Okay.
As opposed to some of these other financing plans that are out there.
Oh boy, I think there's like 8 questions that are in there, so I'm going to try and answer.
Okay.
But, so to your point, we've been doing this for close to 35 years now. I think we have a very good formula down on what works and consistency. So the fact that you can say you've had good experience and you are a good user, I can corroborate to that because I've actually looked at the numbers because we hear that a lot. It's like, oh, I use you a lot.
Yeah.
I often joke like CareCredit or patient financing is like the gym membership. Everybody has it, nobody uses it. And we see that a lot. So when that happens, that's where a lot of the myths start. Oh, they don't approve or not getting approved. It's the consistency, and that's what changes the game. To your point, yes, you don't know what somebody's credit is.
Right.
And people have perceptions. Perception is their reality until the numbers are run. So when somebody says that they have fantastic credit, so here's something for our audience. When somebody says they have great credit, most people think that they have good credit, but if they're confident, like I would be very confident.
Yeah.
I have fantastic credit. And if ran through a CareCredit credit card application and I was not approved, that's the first indication for you to quickly connect with our customer service. Because what most patients forget is they either have a LifeLock or some kind of a credit protection on their Social Security number. It will be an automatic decline.
Yeah.
So when they are surprised, that means take the time, do it. More often than not, people who don't have the credit, they are rarely ever surprised. Right? They're not surprised that they were not. It's
right.
Mostly like, oh, I didn't think I was going to get approved and I got approved. It's rarely the other way around.
Yeah.
So to your point, what is the difference? What is the biggest difference between what we do and others? And here's the thing. I always go back to, irrespective of who you have in your practice, do you have a process in your practice? Or are you utilizing patient financing as a product? What does that mean? You and I have talked about it multiple times. Your part of the conversation is, here's the diagnosis, here's the insurance benefits, whatever you want to call it. And this is how we can make it happen for you. It's part of your process.
Yeah.
When it's part of the process, it's upfront, it's consistent, and that's the magical formula.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what the other person may or may not say yes to or what their credit is like. Where we see a huge disconnect is we take check, credit card, how would you like to pay?
That conversation that just ends.
It
right?
ends.
It ends. Yeah.
And then you say, oh, I don't want to. It's like, oh, we also give 5% courtesy adjustment if you pay cash. Oh, no, I can't. Oh, wait,
Yeah.
we have this. Or they're running in the parking lot to give a brochure of, here, read this, try it, and apply.
Right.
Such a disconnect. And that's when we hear that, oh, we don't offer it because they don't get approved. Again, process or
Yeah.
product. And so that's where, so one of the biggest differences also, every practice in the US, and we have over 120,000 practices that are enrolled in dental practices, over
Wow.
240,000 overall in all healthcare. Every one of them has a rep or a practice development manager assigned to them. Their job is
Yep.
not to come and enroll you. Their job is, you already brought us to the dance, but made us stand in the corner. How can we help you?
Yeah.
How can we help grow your business? How can we help take that unscheduled dentistry out of the books and in patients' mouth by giving them the options? That's all
Yeah.
we do. That's the biggest difference.
Yeah, you got it, and you have to use it, right?
You have to use it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a tool. I mean, I use it in the practice I manage, and it has helped increase my case acceptance in numbers, just a ridiculous amount, you know. And it's funny because, you know, in the community, there's, you know, discussion of like overhead and cutting cost and this
Yes.
and that. But one of the main things I have learned is that if you increase your case acceptance,
Yep.
then you're ultimately kind of minimizing that overhead.
Yes.
You know, you're bringing more money into the practice.
Yes.
And so I've used CareCredit as a tool, you
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
it helps, you
Yeah.
know. I have used other patient financing plans in the
Sure.
past. I do have several of them as options.
Yes.
But anytime I've processed a CareCredit application, most times, I'm not going to say every single
Sure.
time, but you know, most times I don't need to go further.
Yeah.
And also, you guys have Allegro now,
Yes.
right?
And actually, we have another product that's coming out.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's called Pay Later, or so it's
Cool.
it's similar to Allegro for large dollar amounts.
Gotcha. So share a little bit on Allegro.
So historically, you know, we were getting a lot of requests like, hey, for larger dollar amounts from 10, 20, 25, $40,000. And so a few years ago, we acquired Allegro, which was very well known in an audiology space, to help us with transition to this larger dollar amount. And we started a pilot about a little over a year ago, getting some good numbers. And just like anything else, you know, just because someone wants it so bad, thankfully, like I said, we've been doing this for 35 years, and I hope to continue to do it for much, much longer than that. It's all about putting something out, not because it's an immediate, but have we done our checks and balances? And have we checked to make sure, is this the right approach, the right fees for the doctors, the right
Right.
fees for the patient, just everything. So we're getting some good results. I wish I could give you like a whole lot of detail,
Yeah.
because it's still kind of getting baked
Gotcha.
of what that looks like.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had signed up for Allegro because my local CareCredit rep, Chris,
Yeah.
who's an amazing guy.
Yes.
This guy checks in with me all the time. He's
Yeah.
like, "How you're crushing, you're killing it," you know, and it's good because it's encouragement, you know. So it's good to be acknowledged. I don't get that from other companies.
Yeah.
In fact, my experience has been where, you know, you sign up with a new company for financing. They give you some type of goal to reach.
Okay.
And then once you reach that goal, crickets. So, you know,
Okay.
you lose that connection. So
Yeah.
the power of having a local rep, I think is great touch of CareCredit.
I 100% believe that, and that's one of our biggest differentiator. And I understand it from a practices or an owner's mindset, because to your point earlier, you know, everybody's looking at how can we cut cost, where can we reduce our overhead, what can we do to be more profitable. But here's a few things I say. Of course, this is America. You get to do the business the way you want to. That's the freedom we get. But also don't get blinded by, don't get tunnel vision. Right? What is important to also keep in mind is, I want you to understand, whoever you partner with, whichever patient financing, they are an extension to your brand. Are you
Right.
comfortable of what may happen if they're there or they're not there? I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. The other part is also, it's a huge selling point to say, oh, I'm going to get everybody approved, or we can approve everybody and we charge less. I mean, let's seriously, logically sit down and think about
Yeah.
it. You know? But in either case, what I always tell them is, listen, anything that I say may sound biased, rightfully so.
Yeah.
I love who we are. I love what we do. I love how we've supported the profession and our office managers over the years. If you are going to try it, keep good numbers. Track it.
Right.
Hold us accountable, just like you said.
Yeah.
You know, hold us accountable. If we're not doing something that we are promising to, hold us accountable, just like, and don't be say, okay, it's not a blanket. It's like, okay, I bring you in,
Yeah.
you will approve everybody, and you'll charge me less, and everybody will get higher limits.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. That's not the formula
Yeah.
I've yet.
And I've heard that. I've heard that promise, and then I ran applications, and I'm like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So it was disappointing because you have high expectations going into something when they're promising you delivering an amazing product.
Sure.
And then you sit a patient down, you go through this whole process, because it takes us time to really go through, explaining treatment and the insurance and breaking everything down, and then you almost feel like you wasted that time somewhat because you lose out on, you process the application, whatever. I'm not going to get too deep into that.
Yeah.
But again, CareCredit has been a huge success with us going back to, I started in dental in 2002.
Okay.
And so GE Money Bank days,
Yeah.
unicorn financing back then.
Yeah.
So I've been a huge user of CareCredit, and it's definitely helped our practice grow, and our numbers tend to continually break records every month. So I do owe some of that success to CareCredit.
Well, it goes both ways.
It goes both ways.
It
yes.
goes both
Yeah.
ways because, like I said, I'm glad we get to do what you have expected us to do,
Yeah.
and we were there at part of this journey and continue to. And I'm going to go back to the same thing. Once they have a good process, once you have a good process, it works.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether you have 1, 2, or 18 companies. All that would do is now you just have 18 gym memberships and you're not doing any one of them.
Yeah.
One thing, and it comes up more often than not. And I think we, as an organization, we're starting to talk more about it. What is a good metric? Like I ask practices all the time when they come, like they say, oh, we utilize your lot. What is a lot?
Right.
To some practices, doing $5,000 or $10,000 a year is a lot, and I have some practices that do over $1 million a year. Which one is a lot? They're both right in their sense. So I was like, okay, you know what? How can we give a better metric, irrespective of whether you're in Beverly Hills or Greenwich, Connecticut, or anywhere in between?
Yeah.
What is a good metric to kind of get an idea? Again, are we utilizing the organization, the company that we brought in to do what it was supposed to do? The easiest number, whether it's specialty or general practice, does not matter. In my experience, time and time, what we've always looked at is like close to 10% of your applications should be processed. So if you see 20 patients a day, you should have 1 to 2 applications. That's a good number.
Yeah, that's fair.
And if you think about it, it's not a massive number to hit because a lot of practices see 20, 30, 40 patients. I'm talking about 2 or 3 applications.
Yeah.
Once you start to see that consistently, of course, someday it will be 1, some days it will be 4, but consistently, it changes the game.
Yeah.
It changes the game because we go back to now it became a process.
Yeah. Yeah. Integrating into the process. I love that.
Integrating into the process.
Yeah.
And talking about integration, that's where we try to help it because we have so many even practice management software integrations.
Right.
Close to 80% of them, of all practice management softwares that are out there, we are integrated. Why? I want to make the process easier for you.
Yeah.
So if you don't know what the integration does and what it can do for you, kind of like batch quick screen or to help you have some of the information ahead of time, contact not his Chris, but you have a Chris of your own.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. The integration. So I have used that in the past,
Yeah.
and not every single time, but
Yeah.
I tried to make it part of my process, right? But it's kind of stuck in my old ways where I'm just pulling up the website
down.
and logging in, but making it easier, right? And that's what I feel like sometimes office managers have difficulty with is where do I take this and fit it into my what could already be a difficult conversation, about money.
Yes.
And one of the ways I've done that is, again, going through the steps and always mentioning that there is patient financing, that there is the ability to pay small monthly payments. Those words alone, small monthly payments, I think that just kind of really triggers something in the patient's mind where they get to a point where they're at ease and they're kind of like, okay, I could do this.
Yes.
It's like a confidence builder almost.
It is. And, I often tell our practices, just know that most patients that are coming to you, here's something I'm going to say. A lot of the times when I'm talking to a practice, they would say, oh, we have patients that pay cash. I'm not doubting it.
Yeah.
It's a very small percentage of pay cash or pay upfront. It's that one end. Then there's the other end of the spectrum where you probably have patients who would not do anything even if you were to do it for free, right? Yeah. That's not who we are trying to solve for. It's the great middle and the ones that we are trying to help and be a good option for. So yeah, it's whether it's integration, whether it is, but it's all part of how are you presenting it.
Right.
Like I tell offices, just know people don't buy cars, they buy car payments. They don't buy houses, they buy mortgage payments.
It's true.
That's it going down to even, buying some of the digital technology.
Yeah.
It's all about how can I fit it into my lifestyle already that I have.
Right.
So you crack that code, and which you obviously have.
I try. But yeah, dollars and cents, right? I mean, it comes down to dollars and cents, and it's always difficult to have those conversations. But one of the things that I'm starting to share with a lot of our community members is, just being confident and, really having that discussion in a way where you're educating the patient to increase your patient acceptance.
Yes.
And patient financing should 110% be a part of that conversation. I look at it as education.
Yeah.
I look at it as a form of education to the patient,
And if you think about it, and it is, because I, as a patient, came to your practice, you are the expert. The doctor is the expert in telling me what's going on. The hygienist is going to help me. The team is there to support me.
Yeah.
The admin team is there to get me to that point. You are the expert. If you're not having that conversation, guess where I'm going to go to find that information?
Yeah.
And people won't like it, and the offices don't like it. Well, they went online and looked this up. And why? Because something got... I'm not saying it's intentional, because we do get busy, but it always goes back to, if you feel that it is important enough, take the time.
Yeah.
Take the time with your patient.
Yeah. It's funny. Through the years, my time spent with patients has increased, and it's not a bad thing. It's actually that I've become so much more involved in the process of educating the patient that sometimes I'll sit there with a patient for like 30 minutes. And you know what? The patients that I spend the most time with are the patients that are willing to pay.
Absolutely.
They're willing to pay.
It's about the experience.
Yeah.
Because a patient cannot differentiate between your practice and the next practice on clinical level.
Right.
They don't really know the cost.
Yeah.
What they do know is, what was my experience? Did you take the time, or was I, all right, in and out, in and out, in and out? So it's, who do you want to be? And I think those are some of the clarifying things that a practice really needs to consider. If they are looking for, like for us, we're, again, doing for as long as we have, and the network that we have close to a little over 13 million cardholders.
Wow.
CareCredit cardholders. What that means is, a lot of the times patients are probably coming in because they got their card at a veterinary practice or a cosmetic practice.
Yep.
So you have that repeatability. If you think about that, that adds to the compliance.
Yeah.
That adds to, less cancellations and no-shows.
Mm-hmm.
To your point, once, and I'm sure if you look back at it, patients who already have a CareCredit credit card, it's not a huge long conversation that you're having to sit down. They know the
Right.
process. They know they want to have it done.
Right.
They just need to know is, which promotion are you offering me for
Yeah.
this dollar amount? So,
Yeah. And you know, I love the ones that already have the card,
Yep.
because not only does it make it a little bit faster,
Yes.
right? But I also use that as kind of like a conversation starter. So I'll say, "Oh, you have CareCredit, you know, how'd you get it?
Yeah.
What'd you use it for? Oh, you used it for your cat. I'm sorry to hear about your cat, but I have 2 cats and we love cats, you know?" So it's great to use it as a conversation starter to
Yes.
add that into your conversation
Yes.
to really help, you know, boost your patient acceptance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so original question, what is the difference? Like, these are some of the differences that I think what is important, and especially in today's day and time when, the teams are not having full team is
Yeah.
part of the challenge. And how can we help you save a little bit of time? And that conversation, you've got the network. The only way to properly utilize the network is, again, be upfront, be consistent. And, we have appreciated and long cherished the office manager community. Of course, we are part of ADOM and everything
Yep.
else, right? So it's so important because they do have many, many hats that
Yeah.
they wear. One thing we want to make sure is there something we can help in their day-to-day to make it a little bit easier, to save them a little bit more time, to have a patient a little bit better experience.
Yeah.
And then it's a win-win-win for everyone.
Right.
Patient, doctor, and practice.
Yeah. Yeah. Time saving. The tasks are endless.
Yes.
The tasks are endless. But, you know, I feel like the better you get at having those conversations, you can actually manage that time effectively. So
Yeah.
you'll become better skilled, and you can, you know, easily say, okay, you know, let me kind of narrow this down. Maybe that patient, you felt out a little bit and they feel they're already kind of on their way there to, you know, accepting the case.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ben, so CareCredit, you know, you guys have been there for us, and thank you again, Sameer, for, you know, coming on here and, you know, talking to our community. And guys, so we'll talk soon. Sameer from CareCredit, and
Thank you again.
thanks a lot, man.
My pleasure.
All right, bye.